Apologies in advance for my long post. I would love anyone's advice, polite criticisms, and input on something that happened to me. So, my mother found a raccoon skull on the side of the road one day and had my dad pick it up. Poor woman, she's so squeamish, bless her. For me, it was mostly clean, save for some fur and bits of old white flesh that was stuck on the skull. Where's my mouse? That's good. There, we found it. Before I began cleaning it, I asked the spirit for permission to use their remains, with the promise that I would duly respect them. I had never done it before, never knew any certain rituals for that kind of thing whatsoever. Possessive. I placed the skull on an evergreen hand towel, splayed out some violet petals and flowers. I wanted him to smell flowers again, and just spoke to the air as if he were there with me. I told him I was sorry for his passing, and that I hoped he was wandering the world as he should. I started getting this tightening feeling in my stomach, and my intuition put this sort of picture in my mind. If she old make raccoon. What? I'll try that again. I started getting this tightening feeling in my stomach, and my intuition put this sort of picture in my mind of she old male raccoon of the old male raccoon, I think. Wow, that's a little rough. You might want to you might want to proofread. A spiteful little thing. I didn't hear his voice, and as I cleaned his skull, the further I got, the more I felt separated between the allowance and then something else. Between the allowance? Suddenly, it was almost as if I could hear it plain as day. Take my jaw, bury my head. The process was simple. I separated the jaw bones and cleaned them, took a red rag to symbolize the blood that once ran through him, and I buried him underneath my favorite tree. I closed my eyes and prayed to him. My chest felt a little heavy, but I disregarded it as just a solemn mood from the occasion. I decided to name him Tulin, though I wanted to continue a study if the raccoon deity Ezeban from the Abenaki mythology. Alright. Not an hour later, I'm inside and using one piece of the jawbone to put on a beaded necklace to use as a talisman against harmful intentions. A trickster knows tricks, and who better to help me evade them than the genius jester that is of nature himself? I felt it made sense. Okay. As I was attaching the pendant, I had this absolutely overwhelming urge to cry. I've never worked with bones before in my life. Needless to say, I used a box of tissues effortlessly. I cried for his life, for whoever he was, for his afterlife. Before I buried his skull, I gave him plenty of head pats and gentle rubs with my thumb. Later, as I enchanted the talisman, I took some blue moon water I used in the ritual and poured it over the dirt I buried him with. What happened next felt otherworldly. I knew that day there was some small rain to come, but almost immediately after I poured the water, thunder rolled in from the distance, and a heavy storm came for only about 30 minutes. I'm not sure if the timely weather played a part in all this, but it made me feel certain. I haven't heard from the spirit that I named Tulin since then, but I've been wearing his bones often, and sometimes I rub some moon water on the teeth. But is all of this wishful thinking? Am I just imagining things? I'd like people's input below, as this is my first time ever working with bones. I'd like to bite. I'd like to bite that only a week prior I was looking into the divination that is bone casting, and all of this feels so timely. Thank you in advance.